Welcome to the third lecture. In the first lecture I introduced myself and my wife. In the second lecture I gave you some hints about why I think emotions are important. Basically because habits are the way the body does everything, and emotions are the only way the body has of changing a habit. That's where it looks. And as we age, presumably the process breaks down, and among other things, even if the habits don't work, the emotions don't seem to be able to help much either. Let me talk a little bit about some very simple ideas about emotions. I expect them to be geometric. Let me give you an example. Are you interested in what I'm saying? Suppose you are. Suppose your interest is way up, say here at the top of the board. You're very interested. Let's put a 10 there. Or maybe you really don't care. You're not interested at all. Okay, well then maybe your interest is back down here, and I'll put a 0 there. You're not interested. It's a straight line. Here's another straight line. Do you like me? Or maybe you dislike me. I'm going to make that a horizontal line. So let's suppose, hopefully, that you really like me. So here is like. Or maybe you dislike me. Here is dislike. Now I drew it this way for a purpose. No matter how high you are on this line, it says nothing at all about whether you like me or dislike me. That's a 90-degree angle. We're talking about geometry. So these two coordinates are completely, they don't interact at all. They're independent. Suppose you now are living with somebody or are involved with somebody who mixes them up. Here's an example. Suppose whenever they say something and you get interested, they attack you. Now, such things happen. If that happens, what happens in your body? You realize that this line doesn't belong there anymore. If you are interested, you move toward fear, toward dislike. And in your body, the line moves over to here. Suppose you've been living for 10 years with this person. Is that bad? No. Is it good? No, it's life. Well, okay. Now, suppose the relationship ends, but you no longer have that vertical line there. It's at an angle. And after the relationship is over, you find yourself going to a meeting and meeting with some strangers, and they're saying some really interesting things, and you're frightened of them. That doesn't make sense, and you know it, and yet that's the habit. That's normal. What happens now? This is a burden. Just suppose one day you are walking and you see a very tall, straight pine tree, and you just look at that tree and you just stare at it for some reason. You can't imagine why. And after a while you have this enormous feeling of relief. That line just went vertical again. The pine tree reminded you. It's geometry. Okay. This is a total oversimplification, and you know it. I mean, just think about the word interest. What are the implications? Your hormones, your vision. What about your hearing? Are you sleepy? No, you're wide awake. What does it do to your eyes? I mean, all of this. And all of this complexity is what an infant, a child, an early teenager is creating. I would call it an actual space with many dimensions of their own that they are creating during this time, so that when they become adults, their space works. Good. Now, this is an example of real life. Once you are out there, things happen. Oh, I don't have time to sleep. I can only have 3 hours. There's a problem here, the problem there. And you come to your body and say to the body, body, I cannot afford this beautifully perfect space anymore. I have to make exceptions, and you're going to have to accommodate me. And the body says, okay. The body does some things. And over the years, it keeps doing them. And the normal keeps changing. And my guess is that old age is really nothing more than this space becoming so messed up that even the body can no longer cope with it. Having said that, consider the possibility that we might rebuild it. When my mother was pretty old, she started knitting and crocheting. I asked her why. She said it made her calmer. This is a wise woman. She didn't have to know all of the reasons. All she knew was being in touch with that geometry and using her hands made her calmer, and I'm sure it lengthened her life. More in the next lecture. Thanks for coming.